Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how I sculpt eyes in ZBrush. Starting off with a sphere, we're going to make that a polymesh 3D. I'm going to add a map cap material, divide it once. Now we could start making the iris detail. Using the drag tool, select this alpha, click on the Z sub, and just drag it in. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the pupil. Now we're going to go ahead and add the finer details to the iris. Starting with the standard brush, we're going to go ahead and layer these strokes. Now I'm smoothing the edges out by holding the Shift key. With the damp sanded brush on, we're going to go ahead and make this rigged circle shape, just like our reference over here. And I'm going to add more detail on the outside. Alright, it's starting to look a little better. By using the Z sub, I'm going to try and make it look like it has more depth. And I'm just going to align that circle. Alright, next we're going to add a thicker layer on the top, or like on the edges, just to divide it a little bit more. You could also add a mask and just kind of pull it out, but I think this way it gives it more depth. Just making a cleaner cut over here. I really want it to look separate, like there's two parts almost. And if you look at eye references, you'll see a lot of squigglies on the outside, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with this. You could also mess around with a lot of the alphas. They could just be really fun to use. Next we're going to add these dots in the eye, and I'm just using a mask brush, and I'm just making like these dots all around the eye. By clicking on the outside, it reverses the mask, and we could just go ahead and make holes using the standard brush. I just go all around. Alright, clicking on the outside, it's clearing the mask. I'm using the Shift key to smooth the edges a little bit. With the damp standard brush, I'm just going to outline them a little bit. I'm not making like a full circle, but I'm just adding more depth to the hole. With a higher intensity, I'm just gonna keep adding more lines all around the eye. And just smoothing out some of parts of it. Now I'm masking the inner part of the eye. Reversing the mask, I'm just gonna bring this in a little bit more. Smoothing it all out, and I'm just layering more detail. I'm gonna try and make the edges a little bit cleaner. Maybe without the mask. As I add more detail, you'll see me like subdividing it. Just gonna keep going back and forth with the Z add and the Z sub, and just giving it depth and detail, making it look as realistic as we can. It's really good to look at references as you do this. I like to add things slowly just to see how everything is building up. I'm not really doing anything different. I'm just repeating the same steps like over and over, and I'm making the iris a little bit deeper with the same alpha I basically used, and now I'm going in with a different alpha and I'm just kind of brushing it out. Just keep adding details until I like it. I don't like the shape of the circle, so I'm just gonna move it with my move tool. Right now I'm doing the last details, just kind of brushing it out, adding more strokes all around. Redefining like the holes that I added. I think it's getting to a place where I could stop. Just adding a couple more strokes here and there. I'm gonna add some veins on the outside just to give it more depth when we paint it. Nothing too crazy. I don't have the intensity up all the way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and append another sphere. It's going to be the same size since we didn't change any of the sizes before. I'm going to divide that a couple times. I'm going to size this up a little bit. With the transparency on, I'm going to add an alpha and we're going to pull out a part of it. just like that. And I think it's looking good. Gonna divide it one more time. Alright. So now we have both of the parts. And we could go ahead and add a material by clicking on the M, and you go to color, fill object, and then switching to RGB and turning off the material. We're gonna go ahead and add this brown circle just with the alpha. And I kind of want a ring around the brown, so I'm gonna add a gray ring looking thing. And then I'm gonna go back and add the brown with a different alpha. Now I'm gonna go ahead and color in the details. And I'm just basically gonna be like painting the lighter side first with a lighter color brown. Just gonna go all around that. It's always helpful to look at things from different angles when you ever have a chance. Going in with a little gold, just to give it different colors. I do switch to alphas often. I just kind of wanted to color it in. I didn't want to give it the stroke look. Going in with a bluish color, just gonna add very little of this. I didn't want the eye just to be brown, I wanted it to be more colorful. Just looking at it from afar, seeing if this is what I want. I think it looks okay. I'm gonna go in with a gray color and I'm just gonna go around the edges. I didn't want the circle to look completely perfect. Alright, now going in with a black color, more a brown actually. I'm just gonna go over the edges very lightly. Kind of faking the shadow a little bit. I think it's looking good. Making it a little darker. Now with the black, I'm going to color in the iris with the dragon tool. More black around. Just gonna keep brushing it. I'm gonna also color the holes black, just so they could stand out a little bit more. And that's how they look in the reference too. I think that's looking good. I'm gonna add a material to the second layer. It's just gonna be a toy plastic. I'm also gonna add a BPR settings, which is gonna be like a transparency whenever you render it. And you can mess with the different shadows and the opacity. The opacity is actually what makes it see-through. And also make sure to go to render opacity, and transparency, turn it on so you could actually see it in the render. I'm going to add a mask. I accidentally masked the back part too, so I'm just going to unmask that. And I'm going to start coloring the whole thing. I don't want it to be a white, so I'm doing like a grayish and a yellow color, just very lightly. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow around that iris itself. I think it's a little too yellow, so I just kind of blended it in with the gray color that I had. Now for the red part, I'm just gonna go ahead and color the entire back part. And as you get closer to the iris, you just you kind of go softer a little bit. Just giving a darker color. Usually this part doesn't show, so it's not really important. And then for the fun part, I'm gonna color out the veins with an intense, with the intensity up and a very tiny brush. I'm just gonna make squiggles all around it. This part is like really important. I feel like it brings the eye together and it makes it look like a real eye. Alright, I think we're done with the coloring part. I think it's too shiny, so I'm gonna switch the material to the skin shader one. Just fill the object. I think that looks a little better. And then with this, I'm gonna change the material to more of a glass looking one. And I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that in. You can mess with the different settings in the BPR and just go ahead and click render. And that's basically it. You could use these in characters, you could take it into different programs and render this out if you like. But that's all I have. Thank you for watching. Bye.